Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something crucial. Are you truly happy? Not just for a moment, not just when things are easy, but deeply, profoundly happy day in and day out. You see, happiness is not a single point. It's not just a smile or a fleeting moment. Happiness comes in levels, and understanding these levels is the key to unlocking a life that excites you every single day. The first level of happiness is surface happiness. This is the kind of happiness most people chase, the external stuff, a new phone, a new car, a vacation, a promotion. And don't get me wrong, these things feel good, but here's the truth, it's temporary, it fades, and when it does, many people feel empty, frustrated, or worse, stuck. This level is about circumstances controlling your joy. You are happy when things are good and miserable when things aren't. Can you see the trap? This level is fragile, and if you build your life here, you are always at the mercy of the world around you. The second level is emotional happiness. This is where you start taking control. You realize happiness isn't just about what happens to you. It's about how you respond. You learn to manage your emotions, to find gratitude even in challenges. You smile because you choose to smile, not because the world tells you to. At this level, you begin to notice how powerful your mindset really is. You aren't a passenger in your life, you are the driver. But here's the catch, this happiness can still wobble. Life will test it. Stress, disappointment, betrayal, they can still shake your foundation if you haven't mastered the next level. The third level of happiness is purpose-driven happiness. This is the level that changes everything. This is when your life becomes bigger than you. You find meaning in what you do, and your joy isn't dependent on outcomes. It's rooted in contribution. You start asking yourself, how can I use my life to make a difference? When your happiness is tied to serving, helping, and inspiring others, you tap into a deep, unstoppable energy. You feel alive in ways surface-level pleasures could never give you. You wake up every morning excited because your life has direction, intention, and impact. And then there's the fourth level, the level that most people never reach, transcendent happiness. This is a state of being where joy is your default. It doesn't mean you never experience pain, challenges, or loss. It means you rise above them. Your happiness becomes unconditional because it's no longer tied to circumstances or even purpose alone. It's a state of mastery, a deep connection to life itself, a harmony between your mind, heart, and spirit. People who live here are magnetic. They inspire, uplift, and transform everyone around them without even trying. Now, here's the truth I want you to take home. Most people live somewhere between level 1 and 2. And that's okay. But what if you chose to aim higher? What if you committed to not just chasing happiness, but creating it, mastering it, and living it every day? Happiness is not luck. It's not something that just happens. It is a skill, a practice, a lifestyle. And the amazing thing is, you can level up starting today. You can choose gratitude over resentment. You can choose contribution over comfort. You can choose mastery over chaos. And with every choice, you step into a higher level of happiness, a deeper level of fulfillment, a life that doesn't just feel good, but feels truly alive. So I challenge you, don't settle for surface happiness. Don't let life pass you by. Step into your power, discover your purpose, transcend your limitations, and unlock the levels of happiness you were born to experience. Because the truth is, life is not about finding happiness. It's about creating it, living it, and multiplying it in ways you never imagined possible. Surface happiness is the kind of happiness most people chase every single day, often without even realizing it. It's the fleeting sense of pleasure or satisfaction that comes from external circumstances. Maybe it's the thrill of buying a new gadget, the excitement of a vacation, the satisfaction of a promotion, or the pride of being admired by others. These moments feel good. They make us smile, lift our spirits, and sometimes even give us a temporary sense of accomplishment. But here's the thing, this kind of happiness is fragile, fleeting, and incredibly deceptive. It gives you the illusion that life is great when everything is going right, but it vanishes the moment conditions change. One day you're on top of the world, and the next a minor setback, a critical comment, or an unexpected obstacle can bring it all crashing down. The very nature of surface happiness is that it is conditional. It depends on the external environment, the approval of others, and events happening in ways you desire. And life, as we know, doesn't operate on our schedule. Life is unpredictable, messy, and often unforgiving. Relying on circumstances to feel joy is like building a house on sand. The foundation is unstable, and no matter how high or beautiful you build, it will shift and shake. Most people live at this level because it is the easiest to access. It is immediate and tangible. You see something shiny, you want it, you get it, you feel good, and you think you are happy. But this is a shallow form of happiness because it is fleeting, and it creates a constant cycle of craving. You want more, you pursue more, you feel good for a moment, then the pleasure fades, leaving a subtle emptiness behind. This emptiness is what drives people to chase the next experience, the next purchase, the next accomplishment. And so surface happiness becomes a treadmill. You run, you chase, you reach, but the feeling evaporates and you have to start all over again. Over time, this constant pursuit can actually leave people feeling more anxious, restless, or even dissatisfied because they realize that no matter how much they acquire, happiness keeps slipping away. It is a trap disguised as joy. The danger of surface happiness is not just that it is temporary, but that it teaches you to measure your worth by external validation. When your happiness depends on what you have, how others see you, or whether events align with your desires, you are handing over the control of your life to forces outside of yourself. You become reactive instead of proactive, waiting for life to deliver pleasure instead of creating it from within. The irony is that the more you chase external happiness, the less likely you are to experience deep, lasting joy. You may achieve everything society tells you will make you happy: a successful career, a nice home, a perfect image. But without inner fulfillment, these achievements can feel hollow. Many people wake up in the middle of their lives and ask themselves, I have everything I thought I wanted, so why don't I feel happy? The answer is simple. Surface happiness can never sustain true fulfillment because it is temporary, conditional, and external. Understanding surface happiness is not meant to make you feel guilty or discouraged. It is meant to open your eyes to the first level of the journey. Recognizing this level gives you the clarity to see why so many people struggle with persistent dissatisfaction, even when their lives look perfect from the outside. It helps you understand that what you are feeling is not a failure. It is simply the natural limitation of relying on external circumstances for your joy. The good news is that once you see the patterns of surface happiness, you can begin to make conscious choices that lead to deeper, more sustainable joy. Awareness is the first step. You start to notice the temporary highs and the inevitable lows, and you begin asking yourself, what if there is a different way to experience happiness? One that doesn't disappear when life gets messy. Surface happiness is also closely tied to comparison. When your joy comes from external things, you naturally begin measuring yourself against others. You compare your possessions, your experiences, your accomplishments, your status, your appearance. You notice what someone else has, and suddenly your own happiness feels incomplete. This constant comparison is exhausting and undermines any sense of genuine contentment. Social media has amplified this problem exponentially. Every day, we are exposed to curated versions of other people's lives, and our minds naturally measure, judge, and crave. We see someone's success, someone's luxury, someone's recognition, and we feel a pang of inadequacy. The reality is that surface happiness encourages this cycle of comparison because it relies on external benchmarks for validation. If your happiness depends on what others have or what the world gives you, then the bar is always moving and the feeling of joy is never stable. Another limitation of surface happiness is that it conditions you to avoid discomfort. When your joy is tied to pleasure, you naturally begin to resist challenges, setbacks, and hardships. You avoid risk because the possibility of losing the temporary happiness terrifies you. You shy away from difficult conversations, growth opportunities, or unfamiliar paths because they might disrupt the comfort you've built around surface pleasures. This avoidance limits your potential and keeps you small. True growth, transformation, and resilience require discomfort. But when you are attached to surface happiness, you resist discomfort, and in doing so, you resist the very experiences that lead to deeper levels of fulfillment. Surface happiness can also make you reactive. When your sense of joy depends on circumstances, you are at the mercy of events outside your control. Traffic delays, conflicts at work, a friend's criticism, or even bad weather can trigger frustration, irritation, or disappointment. Your emotional state becomes a reflection of external reality rather than your inner strength. This constant reactivity drains your energy and diminishes your ability to act decisively, create effectively, or enjoy life fully. People who rely on surface happiness often feel like victims of circumstance because they have handed over the steering wheel of their emotional life to the world around them. Yet, despite all these limitations, surface happiness is not meaningless. It is a natural starting point. It is the spark that draws attention. What feels good, what excites you, what matters to you. It can be enjoyable and it can motivate action, but it is only the beginning. The key is to recognize that surface happiness alone cannot sustain a fulfilling life. It must be the gateway to something deeper. When you see the impermanence of surface pleasures, you begin to crave stability, mastery, and depth. You start to understand that happiness must come from choices, from mindset, from meaning, from contribution, from alignment with your values. And this awareness is powerful because it opens the door to the next level of happiness. the level where you take control of your emotional state and build joy from within, no longer dependent solely on external circumstances. Emotional happiness is the level where the power of choice begins to define your life. Unlike surface happiness, which depends on external circumstances, emotional happiness is rooted in your ability to manage your inner world, to choose your response to what life throws at you. It is the realization that while you cannot always control what happens, you can control how you feel about it, how you interpret it, and how you act upon it. This is a transformative concept because it shifts the source of your joy from the world outside to the world inside. It is here that you begin to understand that happiness is not something to be found or stumbled upon. It is something to be created, cultivated, and strengthened like a muscle. Every decision, every reaction, and every thought becomes an opportunity to reinforce your emotional state. To practice resilience, to build the habit of joy, is independent of circumstance. At this level, you start to notice a profound truth. Your emotions are not random. They are not uncontrollable forces that sweep over you without warning. They are signals, indicators of your beliefs, your values, and your patterns of thinking. When you feel anxious, angry, or sad, it is not just an accident. It is a message about your interpretation of events. Emotional happiness is born when you learn to listen to these messages without letting them dominate you. You develop the ability to pause, reflect, and choose a response that serves your higher well-being. You discover that even in challenging situations, you can find peace, gratitude, or even joy. This is not a naive denial of reality. It is a mastery of your internal state, an understanding that your emotional energy is yours to govern. People who operate at this level recognize that life will always include setbacks, disappointments, and unexpected turns. The difference is that they are no longer tossed around by these events. They understand that controlling circumstances is impossible, but controlling themselves is not only possible, it is empowering. You start to develop mental and emotional resilience, the ability to face difficulties without losing your center, the ability to maintain calm, clarity, and focus when others panic, and the ability to bounce back from adversity faster and stronger. This is the core of emotional happiness. It is freedom from being a victim of circumstances and an embrace of your own inner authority over your feelings. One of the essential aspects of emotional happiness is self-awareness. You must know yourself deeply to master your emotional state. You must recognize your triggers, your habitual reactions, and the narratives you tell yourself about life and about the world. Emotional happiness demands introspection because without understanding why you feel the way you do, you cannot take responsibility for your joy. It requires honesty, courage, and the willingness to confront the patterns that have been running unconsciously for years. And as you gain this insight, something remarkable happens. You no longer blame others. You no longer complain about circumstances, and you stop waiting for life to make you happy. Instead, you take full responsibility, and with responsibility comes power. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools for emotional happiness. When you consciously focus on what you have rather than what you lack, your brain begins to shift from scarcity to abundance. You notice opportunities instead of obstacles, beauty instead of problems, and potential instead of limitations. Gratitude transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary ones. It allows you to savor the present, to appreciate what is, and to release the need for constant external validation. When gratitude becomes a habit, it creates a steady emotional foundation that cannot easily be shaken by temporary setbacks. Emotional happiness grows from this foundation because it is no longer tethered to conditions, but anchored in perspective. Emotional happiness also requires discipline and practice. Just as athletes train their bodies to achieve peak performance, individuals must train their minds to achieve peak emotional well-being. This involves setting intentions, cultivating positive mental habits, and consciously choosing empowering thoughts over disempowering ones. It means catching yourself in negative spirals and redirecting your focus. It means developing patience, forgiveness, and compassion for yourself and for others. Every choice you make to step out of a reactive state and into a proactive emotional state strengthens your capacity for lasting joy. You begin to understand that happiness is not a reaction to life, but a creation from life. Another critical aspect of emotional happiness is the realization that your emotions are temporary and malleable. Just because you feel frustrated, hurt, or sad in a moment does not mean these emotions define you or your future. Emotions flow like waves. They rise, peak, and fall. When you understand this, you can ride the waves instead of being overwhelmed by them. You can observe your feelings, process them, and let them pass without being consumed. This ability to regulate your internal state creates a profound sense of peace, confidence, and stability. Emotional happiness is not about eliminating negative feelings, but mastering them so they do not dictate your life. At this level, you also begin to see the power of perspective. Two people can experience the same event, and one will feel devastated while the other remains calm and even inspired. The difference is not in the event itself, but in the interpretation. Emotional happiness is rooted in choosing interpretations that serve you, that empower you, that expand your capacity for joy. It is about consciously reframing challenges as opportunities, failures as lessons, and setbacks as setups for growth. This mindset allows you to navigate life with confidence, resilience, and consistent positivity, even in the face of adversity. Relationships play a significant role in emotional happiness as well. When you manage your emotions effectively, your interactions with others improve. You become less reactive, more empathetic, and more understanding. You communicate clearly, listen deeply, and respond thoughtfully. Emotional happiness allows you to connect authentically, resolve conflicts with grace, and build bonds that strengthen rather than drain you. It also frees you from the need to seek validation or approval from others because your joy comes from within. You engage with the world from a place of fullness, not emptiness. Finally, emotional happiness is deeply connected to personal growth. Every time you choose to rise above reactive impulses, every time you practice patience, forgiveness, or gratitude, you grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. Happiness becomes a skill that compounds over time, creating momentum that transforms your life. You begin to see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities to refine your emotional mastery, deepen your understanding, and expand your capacity for joy. Emotional happiness is the bridge between surface-level pleasure and purpose-driven fulfillment because it frees you from dependency on external factors and empowers you to create joy from within, to live life on your own terms, and to embrace every moment as a chance to strengthen your inner foundation. Purpose-driven happiness is the level of joy that transforms ordinary living into extraordinary living. Unlike surface happiness, which is fleeting, or emotional happiness, which is internally managed, purpose-driven happiness comes from alignment with something greater than yourself. It is rooted in meaning, contribution, and the understanding that your life is not just about pleasure or personal comfort. It is about impact. When you operate at this level, happiness is no longer dependent on events or outcomes. It is a byproduct of living in alignment with your values, serving others, and pursuing goals that matter deeply. This is the level where your energy becomes magnetic, your drive becomes unstoppable, and your life feels vibrant, alive, and full of significance. At the heart of purpose-driven happiness is the realization that fulfillment comes from giving rather than receiving. When you contribute to others, whether through acts of kindness, mentoring, creating solutions, or inspiring change, your sense of self expands. You are no longer living for yourself alone. Your happiness is intertwined with the growth, joy, and success of others. This creates a profound feedback loop. The more you give, the more fulfilled you feel, the more energy you have to give, and the more impact you make. People who experience this level of happiness describe it as a deep resonance in their hearts, a feeling of alignment that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. Purpose-driven happiness also requires clarity of vision. You must know what matters to you, what ignites your passion, and what contribution you want to make in the world. Without this clarity, life becomes a series of disconnected actions, and even success can feel hollow. When you define your purpose, every choice, every effort, every moment becomes infused with meaning. Even challenges take on a new significance. They are opportunities to refine your skills, demonstrate your values, and strengthen your impact. When purpose drives your actions, obstacles are no longer frustrating barriers. They are essential steps on the journey to making your mark. Another key aspect of purpose-driven happiness is resilience through meaning. Life will always present difficulties, losses, and failures, but when your actions are anchored in purpose, these challenges no longer diminish your joy. Instead, they become tests, lessons, and opportunities for growth. Purpose-driven individuals do not seek happiness as a fleeting emotion. They experience it as a constant undercurrent that flows from living a meaningful life. They understand that fulfillment is not measured by how easy life is, but by how fully they rise to the demands, responsibilities, and opportunities before them. This mindset transforms pain into power, setbacks into momentum, and challenges into triumphs. Connection is also central to purpose-driven happiness. Living a life of purpose often involves collaboration, mentorship, leadership, and service. When you contribute to others and witness the positive impact of your actions, your joy multiplies exponentially. Purpose-driven happiness is amplified when shared. It is not just about personal achievement. It is about creating ripples that affect communities, organizations, and even the world. People at this level often describe a sense of belonging, a feeling of being part of something larger, and a sense of responsibility that energizes rather than burdens them. Their happiness is intertwined with the well-being and progress of those around them, creating a network of positivity, influence, and growth. Living with purpose also demands courage. It requires stepping out of comfort zones, confronting fears, and taking bold actions in alignment with your values. Many people avoid pursuing purpose because it feels risky, uncertain, or demanding. Yet purpose-driven happiness cannot be achieved through caution or avoidance. It thrives in action, in commitment, and in the consistent pursuit of goals that challenge and elevate you. Every decision to step into the unknown, every choice to act despite fear strengthens your connection to your purpose and deepens your sense of joy. Gratitude and reflection are powerful companions to purpose-driven happiness. When you take time to reflect on your progress, acknowledge the impact of your actions, and appreciate the journey, your fulfillment multiplies. You recognize that happiness is not a destination, but a process of living intentionally and making meaningful contributions. This reflection allows you to celebrate small victories, learn from setbacks, and continuously align your actions with your highest aspirations. Gratitude amplifies purpose because it reminds you of the value and significance of your efforts, even when external recognition is absent. Purpose-driven happiness is also closely tied to authenticity. When your actions, decisions, and relationships are aligned with your true self, your energy flows effortlessly, and your joy becomes sustainable. You stop living to meet the expectations of others, to chase approval, or to accumulate superficial markers of success. Instead, your life reflects your values, passions, and strengths, and this alignment produces a sense of inner peace and unstoppable vitality. Authentic living is magnetic. It draws opportunities, relationships, and experiences that reinforce your purpose, creating a self-sustaining cycle of impact and joy. Another important element of purpose-driven happiness is long-term perspective. Surface happiness and emotional happiness often focus on immediate gratification or short-term relief. Purpose-driven happiness, however, looks beyond the moment. It recognizes that meaningful work, deep connections, and lasting impact require patience, perseverance, and long-term commitment. This perspective allows you to endure temporary discomfort, delay immediate rewards, and focus on the broader vision of your life. It provides clarity in decision, making resilience in the face of adversity, and a profound sense of fulfillment that transcends the ups and downs of everyday life. Purpose-driven happiness also fuels motivation and energy in ways that surface-level or emotional happiness cannot. When your life has meaning, every challenge becomes an opportunity to demonstrate your values, every effort becomes an investment in your legacy, and every relationship becomes a source of mutual growth. You approach life with enthusiasm, persistence, and creativity because your actions are aligned with a cause greater than yourself. This energy is contagious. It inspires others, attracts opportunities, and generates momentum that propels you forward even when circumstances are difficult. Living at this level also strengthens your capacity for leadership. Purpose-driven individuals naturally influence others because their actions are rooted in authenticity, integrity, and impact. People are drawn to those who live intentionally, pursue meaningful goals, and serve others. This creates a cycle in which your pursuit of purpose not only enhances your happiness, but also amplifies the potential for positive change in the lives of those around you. The joy of purpose is not solitary. It is shared, multiplied, and enduring because it transcends self-interest and embraces a broader vision for life, contribution, and legacy. Transcendent happiness is the level of joy that few people ever reach. Yet it is the ultimate expression of what it means to live fully alive. It is not dependent on possessions, accomplishments, recognition, or even the fulfillment of purpose. It exists beyond the external world, beyond circumstances, and even beyond the pursuit of meaning. This level of happiness is a state of being, a deep, unwavering joy that flows from alignment between mind, heart, and spirit. It is unconditional, unshakable, and ever present because it arises not from what happens around you, but from who you are and how you relate to life itself. People who experience transcendent happiness live in a constant state of gratitude, peace, and presence, regardless of the challenges that life places before them. At this level, you begin to understand that happiness is not a destination or a goal. It is the very fabric of your existence. It is not something to be sought externally, but realized internally. Transcendent happiness is cultivated through awareness, presence, and mastery over your inner state. It is the recognition that life is a gift, that every moment, whether filled with pleasure, pain, success, or failure, is an opportunity to experience a richness of existence. The key is that your joy is no longer dependent on achieving something or avoiding something. It simply flows from the deep recognition of life's interconnectedness, your own resilience, and the power of conscious choice. One of the defining features of transcendent happiness is detachment without indifference. You remain fully engaged with life, fully present in relationships, fully committed to your goals, yet your emotional stability is not tied to outcomes. You experience love, loss, success, and failure with full awareness, but you are not swept away by them. You understand that emotions are temporary, external circumstances are transient, and life is constantly in motion. This detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you rise above the fluctuations of life, maintaining a steady, joyful state that is resilient to external disruptions. Transcendent happiness is deeply connected to self-mastery. By the time you reach this level, you have cultivated emotional awareness, mental clarity, and a strong sense of purpose. You have learned to navigate your internal world with precision and intelligence, choosing thoughts, emotions, and actions that support your highest good. You understand the power of your mind to shape your reality, the strength of your spirit to endure challenges, and the capacity of your heart to love unconditionally. This mastery creates a profound freedom, the freedom to live fully, to give generously, to experience deeply, and to contribute meaningfully without being tethered to the ups and downs of life. Another hallmark of transcendent happiness is presence. You are fully immersed in the current moment, aware of the richness, beauty, and potential of now. You no longer live in regrets of the past or anxieties about the future. Instead, you embrace life moment by moment, finding joy in the simple, ordinary experiences that often go unnoticed by others. Every sunrise, every conversation, every breath becomes an opportunity to connect with life and experience it fully. Presence allows you to access a deep inner calm and joy that cannot be disturbed by external chaos. It is here, in this awareness, that transcendent happiness emerges. Effortless, constant, and profound. Compassion and empathy are also central to this level of happiness. Transcendent individuals see the interconnectedness of all life. They understand that every being is struggling, learning, and evolving just as they are. This perspective creates a profound sense of compassion that amplifies joy rather than diminishing it. By extending love, understanding, and forgiveness to others, they not only lift those around them, but also expand their own inner happiness. Their joy is not selfish. It is expansive, inclusive, and regenerative, because it flows outward as naturally as it flows inward. At this level, you also develop inner peace that transcends conflict. Life will still present challenges, obstacles, and conflicts, but your happiness is no longer contingent upon their absence. You can face adversity with grace, respond to injustice with clarity, and confront suffering with compassion. This does not mean you passively accept negative circumstances. It means you engage with life from a centered, empowered state, using your presence, wisdom, and strength to navigate challenges without being dominated by them. Transcendent happiness provides an unshakable foundation that allows you to act with courage, patience, and wisdom, even when everything around you is uncertain. Spiritual awareness is often a component of transcendent happiness. Whether through formal spiritual practice, meditation, mindfulness, or simply a deep recognition of the interconnectedness of life, you come to realize that happiness is not about acquiring, achieving, or changing external conditions. It is about aligning with a higher truth, connecting with the flow of life, and experiencing existence as a miracle. This perspective allows you to see beyond fear, scarcity, and limitation, embracing a life of abundance, possibility, and profound joy. Transcendent happiness is the natural result of living in alignment with this deeper awareness. Another essential aspect of transcendent happiness is authentic expression. At this level, you live fully as yourself, unafraid of judgment or expectation. You express your creativity, your voice, your love, and your purpose authentically. There is no need to conform, to prove, or to compete, because your sense of self-worth and joy is internalized. This freedom to be fully oneself generates a deep satisfaction and joy that cannot be replicated by external achievements or validation. Others are naturally drawn to this authenticity, which amplifies joy and connection in ways that are subtle yet profound. Transcendent happiness also involves a deep sense of gratitude and appreciation. You no longer take life for granted. You recognize the sacredness of every moment, the value of every interaction, and the beauty inherent in the ordinary. Gratitude becomes not a practice but a way of being. It transforms perception, magnifies joy, and dissolves resistance. By seeing life as inherently good and recognizing the lessons, opportunities, and gifts present in every experience, you cultivate a continuous state of happiness that is immune to external disruption. Finally, transcendent happiness is empowering because it is independent. It cannot be given or taken away. It is not tied to achievement, approval, or circumstance. You carry it within, and it informs every decision, every interaction, and every experience. Life is no longer a roller coaster of highs and lows, but a consistent expression of inner fulfillment. You influence the world not out of need or desire, but out of joy, love, and clarity. People who reach this level radiate peace, purpose, and vitality because their happiness is no longer negotiable. It is their natural state, a reflection of mastery over self, life, and consciousness. Happiness is a skill you can level up, and understanding this truth is the key to transforming your life. Many people spend their entire lives believing that happiness is something that happens to them, as if it is a stroke of luck, a gift from circumstance, or a reward for success. They wait for the perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect moment to finally feel joy, only to discover that these external conditions are never enough. True, lasting happiness does not come from luck or circumstance. It comes from deliberate practice, conscious choice, and mastery over the mind and heart. It is a skill like learning a language, playing an instrument, or developing physical strength. And the most empowering part is that this skill can be developed, refined, and expanded at any stage of life for anyone willing to commit to it. The first step to leveling up your happiness is awareness. You must recognize how much of your current happiness is controlled by external circumstances and how much is under your control. Most people unconsciously give their power away. They allow events, people, social pressures, and cultural expectations to dictate how they feel. This external dependence makes happiness fragile and inconsistent. Becoming aware of this pattern is critical because awareness creates choice. Once you see the ways in which your joy is reactive rather than proactive, you can begin to take control. You can decide to create happiness intentionally rather than waiting for it to arrive. This awareness is like turning on a light in a dark room. You suddenly see the obstacles, patterns, and opportunities clearly. The second step is mindset mastery. Your thoughts are not random. They shape your reality, influence your emotions, and determine the quality of your life. By becoming aware of your habitual thought patterns, you can choose those that empower you and replace those that limit you. Mindset mastery means recognizing negative self-talk, unhelpful beliefs, and limiting narratives, and consciously shifting toward thoughts that foster confidence, optimism, and joy. This is not a superficial act of positive thinking. It is a deep, disciplined practice of aligning your mind with truth, possibility, and potential. By mastering your thoughts, you build the foundation for consistent, internal happiness that is not easily shaken by life's challenges. The third step is emotional regulation. Happiness is more than just thinking positively, it is feeling powerfully and wisely. You cannot always control the events of life, but you can control how you respond to them. Emotional regulation is the ability to observe your feelings without being dominated by them, to experience life fully without being consumed by transient highs and lows. This skill allows you to navigate setbacks with grace, manage stress effectively, and sustain a joyful state even when circumstances are challenging. By practicing emotional regulation, you create a steady internal environment where happiness can flourish independent of external chaos. The fourth step is habitual practice. Happiness is not a one-time achievement. It is cultivated through daily choices and actions. Just as athletes train consistently to strengthen their bodies, individuals can train their minds and hearts to strengthen happiness. This includes cultivating gratitude, practicing mindfulness, engaging in meaningful work, and nurturing relationships that uplift and inspire. Each intentional action builds resilience, reinforces joy, and creates momentum toward higher levels of fulfillment. Habits compound over time, and small, consistent practices of happiness can lead to profound, long-lasting changes in your emotional and mental landscape. Another essential component of leveling up happiness is purpose alignment. True happiness is amplified when your actions are aligned with your values, passions, and sense of purpose. When you know what you stand for, what you want to contribute, and how you wish to impact the world, your daily experiences take on greater meaning. Every challenge, every effort, and every interaction becomes an opportunity to express your values and move closer to your purpose. Purpose alignment transforms ordinary tasks into meaningful acts and elevates your overall sense of joy and fulfillment. It is the bridge between transient pleasure and enduring happiness. Connection and contribution are also central to this process. Human beings are wired for connection, and happiness is magnified when shared. Investing in relationships, serving others, mentoring, or contributing to your community creates a sense of belonging and amplifies joy. When you lift others, you lift yourself. The act of contributing generates positive energy that circulates, expanding your sense of purpose, reinforcing emotional stability, and increasing your overall satisfaction with life. Purpose and connection work together to elevate happiness from a fleeting experience to a sustainable internal state. Resilience is another critical factor in leveling up your happiness. Life is unpredictable, and setbacks, failures, and disappointments are inevitable. Those who cultivate happiness as a skill develop the ability to recover quickly, maintain perspective, and continue moving forward. Resilience is strengthened through experience, reflection, and conscious practice. By seeing challenges as opportunities to grow and as training for higher levels of happiness, you build the capacity to sustain joy even in difficult circumstances. This ability to thrive despite adversity separates temporary pleasure from deep, enduring happiness. Self-expression and authenticity are also essential to this process. True happiness is impossible if you are living inauthentically, constantly seeking approval, or suppressing your true self. Expressing your thoughts, emotions, creativity, and values authentically strengthens your sense of identity, deepens your connections, and increases satisfaction with life. People who live authentically do not waste energy on pretense or fear. They channel their energy into actions and relationships that truly matter. Authentic living creates a strong internal foundation for happiness that is immune to superficial pressures or fleeting circumstances. Another key element is mindful presence. Happiness flourishes when you are fully engaged with life, when you savor experiences rather than rushing through them or postponing joy for the future. Mindfulness allows you to notice the beauty, opportunity, and potential in each moment. It strengthens awareness, deepens gratitude, and enhances emotional stability. When combined with intentional practice, purpose alignment, and authentic living, mindful presence solidifies a state of happiness that is consistent, resilient, and deeply satisfying. Finally, leveling up happiness requires commitment and persistence. It is a lifelong practice, not a quick fix. You will face moments of doubt, frustration, and challenge, but the process itself builds mastery. Each deliberate choice to focus on gratitude, manage emotions, act in alignment with purpose, connect with others, and cultivate presence reinforces your capacity for joy. Like building a muscle, every effort strengthens your internal foundation, creating a happiness that grows stronger, more resilient, and more abundant over time. By committing to this practice, you transform happiness from a fleeting experience into a skill, a lifestyle, and a way of being that shapes every aspect of your life.